You know, we want to get together to discuss what you're paying because according to our numbers, you're not paying enough, and we need to resolve this. At no time did we stop collecting, and we haven't stopped collecting door to door within the mobile home park. But they had a protest here at City Hall a week or so ago. I know I was quoted in the paper dealing with that, and there was an event here at City Hall about the fact that they were upset about it. So it was a garbage issue. It was a refuge issue. It was about a commercial account. It was about the city trying to audit its commercial accounts and figure out that it's collecting the right amounts. But it apparently hit a nerve with the residents in the mobile home park on Boutwell Road. There were other things that were said and some communications back and forth with staff about somehow that this was due to a rezoning that took place, that somehow the fact that this mobile home park, which was a mobile home park with residents living in it in an industrial area, had been, the future land use map had been changed from mobile home park to industrial. And I want to say that future land use map took place in 2009, and Williams here, he can probably help with that. And then based on that and the overall plan for the zoning in the city, when the LDRs went through, it was rezoned into the commercial category. That in no way, shape, or form affects whether or not the mobile home park can exist. It can stay there forever. As long as the owners want to operate the mobile home park, the city has no ability to force them out, and it's not our intent to, and in no way, and I hope that's a perception that's just not correct. They can exist here as long as the owners of the mobile home park want to operate.
May I?
Go ahead.
You referenced some emails, city manager, and I haven't seen the letter, I guess, the staff generated was it the individual homeowners or the owner of the park?
It was to the Mobile Home Park LLC, and that was back on February the 3rd.
But the gist of it was they wanted to get together with the ownership and work out some sort of a...
Yeah, it doesn't say anything other than it cites, you know, the regulating resolutions and some of the stat facts, but it says we'd like to get together to discuss the refuse changes, service changes at your earliest opportunity, so we may together decide the most appropriate collection option for your residents.
Okay.
It was not, we're stopping and we're going to make you walk to dumpsters or anything like that. It was the conversation. So we're still picking up.
Sure.
Nothing's changed.
Well, I guess, my concern is I'm trying to get my head around the whole experience because I drove by City Hall apparently when this protest was taking place. I pulled into the lot and tried to find out what was going on, and I was met with instant hostility from some of the residents there. Allegations of the city seizing their property, trying to force them off their land. I'm dumbfounded. I'm listening to these accusations and trying to talk with these people, and of course they're pointing the finger at me and the mayor and others, saying that we were moving these people off the land. And then I found out there was a chain of emails, which I happen to have here, that a lot of people decided to chime in and basically state that it was city policy that we were going to take that land in conjunction with the Park of Commerce project. Now, I guess my question is, and then what really bothered me, and I'll be honest with you, is we had two commissioners that were on site prior to my arrival speaking with the media on this issue, and I didn't even know what the issue was. So I don't understand if that was the issue, why these two commissioners didn't diffuse the situation themselves and tell them that these accusations were wrong. We need to get to the bottom of this. We can't be telling folks that we're going to seize their property. This is a tired old ploy that we use from time to time, and coincidentally it happens about the same time every year, and it needs to stop. I'm absolutely revolted that some folks on this commission would be a party to this, because I don't think we've ever had a conversation about garbage rates specifically for any trailer parks. Have we, City Manager?
No, not unless it's during the, y'all pass the resolution that sets them, but that's the only time we've talked about it.
Has there ever been a conversation about taking anybody's homes for any project in this city?
No, sir.
So I don't know where these allegations came from, and I don't understand Okay, Jamie, do you have any reason to know why folks would get the impression that we were going to take their homes?
No, I do not, Commissioner. As the city manager stated, we just sent out the initial letter. We had yet to meet with them. And I did speak with the, Sarah with Riverstone, the owner. But again, we're not with them yet. So this is all kind of a little early.
So, I guess I'd like to find out from the two commissioners, apparently has some inside information here.
Madam Mayor,
Don't
this
interrupt.
whole agenda item has become completely unorthodox.
Excuse me,
This is
I'm
supposed to
speaking
be
here.
the comments of a commissioner.
And I'm
Point of order,
And
point
you're
of order.
silent while I speak.
Point of order to both of you. Finish your comments, please, without accusations. Thank you. You have the floor, Vice Mayor.
So I'd like some answers from the two commissioners who are on site.
Again, point of order, sir. Just
Madam Mayor, I want answers, and I'd like to have them today, not tomorrow or next week. Okay, this is a serious issue, and some serious accusations have been leveled against the administration of this city and members of this commission.
then you should meet with the city attorney then after this meeting, and you guys can discuss that, whatever, but we're not going to entertain it here, nor are we going to have rebuttals and arguing back and forth, okay? We're going to be grown-ups here, and we're going to do
So
our
you're
reports.
suggesting that I'm not being a grown-up, is that?
No, I'm saying we're not going to fight back and forth here, okay?
I would like answers to my questions. And
Okay,
I-
city attorney,
Sit here until we get the answer.
city attorney, would you step in, please?
Well, the Vice Mayor's asked a question, and does other commissioners comment? If they want to make a comment on it, I guess they can, but your direction's pretty clear.
Thank you. Okay, then Commissioner McBoy.
I think I can shed some light on some of this. I'm assuming, Commissioner Maxwell, that you're referring to me as one of the commissioners?
You can assume whatever you like.
Why don't we're not going to go back and forth. You have the floor, Commissioner McBoy. You have the
Okay,
floor.
I have no idea
So
what that means.
there'll be no discussions back and forth. You can make your comments, please. You have the floor, sir.
Okay, let's start out with a little bit different thing, and I'll come back to that. This is a movie that's called Abrazos. I was approached by the Guatemalan Maya Center a few weeks ago and said, hey, would you be willing to come? We're doing a showing of this movie at the Stanzik Theater downtown, and we'd appreciate it if you could come. And, well, I was sort of busy and wasn't sure, but I said, let me check it out. It's showing tonight in Spanish. They showed it last night with English subtitles. It's very relevant to our city. Abrazos means hugs in Spanish. And the movie is about a church organization in the Midwest, in Worthington, Minnesota, that happened over time to have an influx of folks from Guatemala, some Anglo members of the church that these folks attended eventually became aware that the parents in these families were not able to go back to their parents in Guatemala because of status. And the Anglo particular woman and friends in that community said, well, that means that the kids in these families don't know their grandparents and don't know the situations that their parents came from and why they came. And in some cases, there were families that were separated. One brother stayed in Guatemala, one came. And this director, well, the woman, Lisa, American woman, said that, that just really bothered her as a member of a church, that these kids didn't know their grandparents. And she made arrangements, raised money in the community to send a group of the kids back to Guatemala for visit with their grandparents. And this director made a documentary of it. And I highly recommend it. We have a big Guatemalan community in our city. Many of the same sorts of issues. If you want to understand at a very non-political but very human level what some of these families, what their backgrounds are, how they relate, I highly recommend it. I'm happy to loan it out if someone would like to borrow it. Regarding the mobile home park, Commissioner Maxwell is correct that I came to City Hall, I think I got here about 8 o'clock or slightly before. Somebody had told me, don't remember exactly who, but I had some communications because the head of the homeowner association of Palm Beach Mobile Home Park had contacted me. She called me up and said, hey, there's an issue here with trash. I didn't know anything about it. She was clearly very upset. She clearly had the impression that the residents were very upset. And she said, there's a protest down at City Hall, would you come? And I think I came for the, that one. It was just before that, so I came down for that and came slightly early. I did not talk to any members of the press. I don't know if they were there when I got there, but I didn't talk with them. I did talk with older women, 90, 80, very some, who were very upset. I received further emails later on. After this situation apparently escalated somewhat, and I have to say that the mayor sent a letter to that community, and I received, I guess after that letter arrived, I received emails from people in the community saying people can't sleep. They're so upset because they got a letter that started from the mayor saying the lies begin. That was the start of the letter to them. If you're 80 years old, 90 years old, you're probably upset. If you're living in that mobile home park and you've lived there a long time, and you're seeing the level of development, 250,000 square feet, and the excitement of land values going from 3.2 million and in less than 6 months to 4.8 million, these people may not have a lot of resources, but they're not dumb. The city may not be formally trying to push them out, but they're not dumb. And they've already dealt with the fact that if they want to put a screen porch on their trailer home, they're told by the city you can't do that. They read the writing on the wall, and now somebody comes along and says, well, we're not going to pick up your trash. You're 80 and 90 years old, sorry. We're not going to pick it up, or you got to bring it to a central dumpster. Was there misinformation in that? Did the owner of the park communicate dumpsters versus home pickup? I have no idea. I'm not party to that. But you can understand pretty easily that somebody who's on a fixed income, living in a mobile home park, seeing all this development going, seeing all the noise about Park of Commerce, might be a little nervous about things like being pushed off the land or whatever it is. It's not their land, but whatever. So they were upset. And the letter, I was provided a copy of the letter from the mayor, and that wouldn't have reassured me either.
Okay, we'll move on.
But I wasn't done. I don't have anything more to say about the mobile home park. That's as much as I know about it.
Okay, do you have any other parts of the report? Okay.
Yeah, I do have another part. And I hope that I will be allowed to speak.
Well, we have to run a meeting here too, so everyone doesn't have 30
We'll get
minutes
to it, but I think we have some serious issues to deal with. We just read a proclamation on bicycles. I'm glad for that. But we also read a proclamation on ethics awareness. And it really bothers me that I'm seeing things going out to neighborhood associations asking 3 commissioners on this commission who happen to be up for office with the city's seal on it. That's illegal. And I would guess that those commissioners who are up for re-election are aware of it. We also have campaign activities happening on city grounds, putting up campaign signs on public property. That's illegal. It's certainly unethical, but it's absolutely against our ordinances.
Okay, I stopped Commissioner Maxwell. I stopped Commissioner Maxwell from making allegations against you, sir.
These
So it is
are
only,
allegations.
they are,
I did not Photoshop those out and live across from the plate. And you have 3 commissioners speaking to the public at a not publicly noticed meeting.
it's a campaign.
And it's possible that they are talking about campaign things. And what do you talk about in campaigns? What you're going to do. Those are things that you could reasonably assume you might vote on in the future.
But quiet in the chambers,
Madam Mayor,
please.
let him finish. I really want to hear the fairy tale that you have to tell.
I know, it's
So
just,
I want to hear the fairy tale in its entirety.
I
Because
think
I've got a few things I want to say.
we're gonna move on and finish our liaison
No,
reports.
I want to hear the fairy tale, seriously.
May
Go
I?
ahead, go ahead,
Please,
Commissioner.
please,
Show us how
quiet,
intelligent.
quiet in the chambers. Commissioner McBoy, you've exceeded your time, but please finish up so we can move on to the rest of our liaison reports, because that's where we are on the agenda. Everyone today is not going to invent their own agenda. We have one here, and it's right in front of you, and we're going to follow it, okay? So please, thank you.
I only am remarking on activities that I saw firsthand that I thought were kind of curious in the light of us reading a proclamation on ethics.
Good for you. Awesome.
I happen to take the issue of ethics quite seriously, went out of my way to go do training additional above and beyond what we usually do to inform myself of those. And these things just do not look like they inspire the kind of confidence that residents should have in our elected officials. That's the only reason I mention it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Amoroso.
Yeah, okay. I can't even go there. Okay, first of all, let's just go back to the reports. Great things happened in the city of Lake Worth last week. We had a great taste of Lake Worth. I want to thank everyone for volunteering and coming out. We sold out 350 tickets. That was a great thing. I want to thank Mary Lindsay and John Faust and the NIPC and all the volunteers. And again, to continue, let's thank all the volunteers for a great street painting festival. It was huge, bigger than we've ever seen before. Mother Nature took care of us. It was just a great signature event. Saturday night I had the honor of going to the Arts United opening at the Armory Arts Center. If you haven't been there, the renovations are being done. It's just a great location. They're still under construction, but it was their first big show. It runs now through Gay Pride, and that's the last thing I want to mention is Gay Pride is coming up. We hope everyone comes out for the 2-day event sponsored by Compass. Again, it's one of their big fundraisers with a parade on Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Meyer?
Thank you. On February 19th, Friday, I attended the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council monthly meeting. It's a very exciting meeting. It started out with a presentation from the City of Palm Beach Gardens talking about a new development called Avenir. Just as they began, the meeting was interrupted and we were paid a visit by U.S. Senator Bill Nelson, who asked if he could take some time to speak to the council. Mr. Nelson gave a speech on the history of the South Florida Water Management District. He said that the organization was originally started after there was a major flood in Lake Okeechobee and many thousands of people died in that flood. So the state of Florida put together, it wasn't called the South Florida Water Management District back then, but their primary goal was to send water that overflowed from Lake Okeechobee out to the ocean and no longer have it flowing south. It seemed at the time the most logical thing to do. Some 40 years later, they discovered that what they had actually done was created the ecological destruction of the state of Florida south of Lake Okeechobee. And now they realize that what they desperately need to do is reflood this area, save the water, and send it flowing south again to save the Everglades. Unfortunately, something standing in the way of that is that much of that property between the lake and the south tip of Florida is privately owned. Much of it is owned by FPL. Flooding the land and electricity do not necessarily go hand in hand, so FPL does not want to allow us to flood the land there. So looking back, we can see that we made a big mistake. We had the best intentions at heart. We can see what we could do to correct it, but the truth is that we really have a big problem on our hands that nobody is quite sure how we're going to rectify. The senator left us with the message that Florida has limited resources, natural resources remaining, particularly water, and as we go forward, we need to be very conscious of our water here in Florida. And so then the meeting went back to its regular agenda, and we started talking about Avenir again, which is being developed surrounded by conservation land, and will actually, if the development goes through, we'll have a major highway going right through Florida conservation land. If you folks remember me talking a couple of months ago, the Planning Council also had a meeting to discuss the Florida Ag Reserve and breaking that up into smaller sections so that there would be more room for more planned developments in the Agriculture Reserve. So, as Floridians, I would like you to look at your state, see if it feels like we have an overabundance of conservation land, if we have an overabundance of agriculture land, and then ask yourselves if perhaps we have an overabundance of townhomes, or if that's what we really desperately need, because the influx of townhomes is weighing heavily on our natural resources. Many of the commissioners, many experts in the scientific field stood to speak and say, number one, that Avenir's answers to conservation are insufficient. They want to break up the area into little sections, and they plan on the deer being here and the squirrels being here, and many experts said that it just isn't going to work that way, that the conservation land needs to stay whole. I'll make this brief, but then disturbingly, at the end of it all, the Palm Beach Gardens commissioner representative there asked that all of the public comment that was negative on the project be stricken from the public record, and that we would only include the information from the Palm Beach Gardens planning official, which fortunately the other commissioners did not support, but I did find that quite surprising. So that's my report there. And then just lastly, this past Saturday, February 27th, the mayor, Commissioner Maxwell and Commissioner McFoy and I attended the mayor's ball at the convention center. Mr. Bornstein and his wife. I danced with Mr. Bornstein's wife and the mayor.
Much better than I did.
It was a great event. I worked for the organization when this event was in the planning stages. I remember when it first went off, it wasn't a great success, but has continued to build momentum. The Homeless Coalition has two different things that they do. Direct service, which is like the Project Homeless Connect that we had here January 27th, where we're actually reaching out to homeless members of our community. The other side of it is called capacity building, and that's where you get the money to actually fund homeless shelters and public programs. And so this was that such event. They raise thousands every year, and I was proud to be a part of it and proud to see its success. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Also, wanted to just follow up to Mike. We talked about a summit and bringing in leaders and from the Homeless Coalition and from different organizations to talk about solutions within our community. So I'd like to, see when we can get that together. Also, an MPO update. Last time around the meeting, they talked about the commuter rail portion. Everybody hears about All Aboard Florida and the changes happening to the rail, but the commuter portion is the one that would most benefit us locally, and that's not just Tri-Rail on the CSX, but it's actually moving commuter rail to the FEC rails. And it's closer to becoming a reality, but it's still far from funding. An updated report, and of course I kind of pushed him into a corner there and saying, what's our timeline for this, because we would benefit from it. But at this point, the funding is still pretty much unclear, and I think we're probably 2 years out before we know about the funding on it. The one thing we can confirm is that initially there was talk a couple of years back of who was getting the stops, and it wasn't, we weren't on the list. Just to ease your concerns about that, we're on the list. So, and that is confirmed, so that will be good when it happens. Also, I had correspondence today from Lois Frankel's office, and she said that her proposal, Florida-22, would save Florida taxpayers nearly $35 million and protect local government budgets. Basically, this is in reference to FEMA. We all know about our FEMA issues from the hurricanes of past, and FEMA saying that we owed them money in the past. This law basically changes that and puts a time limit on how long they can come after you for this money. There was a lot of inaccurate reporting back and forth, and of course when you're in times of disaster, as we were, it was challenging to keep paperwork trails on it, but we managed to produce it and provide it for them. In fact, I was up in Washington meeting with FEMA and testifying on our behalf then, and spoke with several of our officials up there that are in our district. Just a little bit about it. You know, when hurricanes and other natural disasters strike, communities are ravaged and so are their budgets, said Congresswoman Frankel. This provision will give FEMA the necessary time to review grant awards while providing certainty for communities so they can plan their budgets accordingly. Basically, during the hurricane seasons, especially Charlie, Francis, Jean, Wilma, and Katrina, FEMA provided money to local governments through public assistance programs for approved activities like debris cleanups, damage to facilities. We know we had our fair share of that. So this is going to alleviate some of the burden on our local communities as so much time has passed since then. So again, it's through the House of Representatives. It's not final yet, but we certainly want to encourage her at every turn to help us as the community not have to worry about something like that. My only response in reference to what was talked up here is it's very sad that an issue about garbage removal has turned into something like it has. It's very, very sad. I think for people to be fearful of losing their home is genuine and real. And the fact that they would get that from the letter that I read that stated, can we please talk about this? And we need to do something about it. There was no threat of removing their service. There was no threat of anything. You can make allegations and say innuendo, whatever you want. It's election time. I expect nothing but that. But it's not fair to people whose lives are at stake and whose home is not in jeopardy to make them feel that, especially senior citizens, is despicable. And I'm just going to leave it at that. In reference to ethics, I believe that happened last election time too, didn't it? These ethics conversations. I know that the park space was rented. It was paid for. It followed all the rules. I think insinuating ethics violations would be like me insinuating that the Homeless Coalition ball that we went to and you sat next to another commissioner, when you leaned over to speak with him, how were you possibly not talking about city items that you were going to vote on?
It wasn't noticed.
It wasn't noticed that Homeless Coalition ball where we all sat around that table and you sat together and talked quietly amongst yourselves. To insinuate that is just as absurd as what I just said. And to do that, you do not do so freely in this room, and you do not do so freely about me, sir. Thank you. We're going to move on to our... No, we're not going to go back and visit.
Well, you had your say.
Everyone had their chance.
No, I didn't have my chance.
It was a commissioner liaison report. Everybody had a chance. We're moving on to the approval of the minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Yes.
I believe there's public participation.
Oh,